Hi guys, welcome to another lesson. So in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about building real-time features in Supabase. My assumption is that you've gone through the previous lessons. You already have a Supabase account running in their cloud version, and you have a table called lesson. So if you follow lesson 3, CRUD operations with Supabase, you would have created those tables. Now, if you remember in our previous application, what we built is we built a basically UI for like viewing lessons, fetching lessons, deleting lessons, and so on. I'm not going to go into that in this video. I want to teach you real-time features. So now, in what case would you need real-time features? So on Classroom IO, for example, we have this polls feature where we allow you create polls, and then once anyone selects any of their answers, every single person will see this value update in real time. Everything about this poll will update in real time. You don't need to refresh the page. Like a quick example is, for example, I have 2 windows of the same page open in different browsers, right? Even though this is not a use case, but I'm going to use this to explain the concept to you. If I delete this lesson from here, you notice that this still remains here, even though it's actually deleted. If I hit on refresh, that's when you'd see that, okay, it's deleted. Okay, for example, I add a new lesson. I say real-time features, real-time. Let me just use that slug, and then I'll say the author is Donald Ogal, and then I'll just write this is a dummy text. And once I hit submit, success, again, you know that, okay, it's added here, but nothing happened here. I have this button for refresh, or you have to reload the whole page. Let's say I go to this tab and come back here, and then it fetches the data. But in that case, what has happened is you've made the user do extra requests and re-render the whole page when they really didn't need to, right? Now we're going to hook up real-time feature to this page so that once we delete anything here, it reflects here. Once we add a new lesson here, it adds here. Now to do that, there is this documentation. If you go to supabase.com/doc/reference JavaScript, and then remove channel. Oh, sorry, not remove channel, but we'll start with subscribe to channel. So you see in the Supabase docs, if you go to the JavaScript library, they have different sections: database, auth, edge functions, and then real-time. Real-time, that's where you should be. You click on the first one, subscribe to channel. So in our case, what we're going to do is that we're going to listen to a specific table. So for example, once any change happens in a particular table, we want to get the new data, right? So now, one cool thing about Supabase is that you can listen to specific events. So this asterisk just means listen to all events in the table countries. However, if you say listen to inserts, you just do inserts here. Or if you say listen to updates, you just change the event to updates, but you can update here, and then you can keep the countries. Okay, good. So in our case, we want to listen to all because not listen to all. We want to listen to at least insert and delete. But ideally, you should in this case, we could listen to all. Just for simplicity, I'm just going to implement listening to all. If you go into the code, you would see that we have this function for get lessons, and we call it on mount. That's the function that loads when we reload this page, and then you see the loading text. It fetches, it makes a query to Supabase to fetch this all the lessons, and then order them by the ID ascending. Now in our case, instead of having this get lessons on mount, we want to automatically have these lessons if anything changes. So the first thing we'll do is we'll create a variable called lesson channel, Again, I've already added that one here. That's the only thing I've added. And then I'll just come to this documentation and then copy this here, this, and then paste it in on mount. You want to put it on mount, and then if you say that lessons channel is equal to this value. So this returns when you call the subscribe method. So let me explain what happens. You say supabase.channel. Ideally you just say any, but you can like create groups of channels, but in this case we're just going to say any. And then the next thing is on. You listen for Postgres changes. Then the second argument of on is an object which takes in event, schema, and table. Event could be like I showed you, insert or update or delete, right? Schema is your database schema. You'd see it in the dashboard here, public. You see, you can have different schemas, but in general, like the default is public. And then the table is the specific table we want to listen to. In our case, it's lesson. So like if you change something in lesson, we want to see the change on the front end. Okay, good. Now we have the lesson channel. However, once you have this lesson channel created, this will be calling WebSockets to make a request to the backend. So listening via WebSockets. Ideally on destroy. So when the component on mounts, we want to like unsubscribe from this, so that it helps with performance and you clear like listeners when you're not using them. Because if you don't do this, it can continue listening even when we leave this page, right? This lessons route, and that's not what we want. It can slow your application down. So you're always, if you're listening, if you have like subscribe anywhere, you must unsubscribe once you leave that page or the components. Okay, good. So all you just have to do is, again, you just come to the docs and then we come to unsubscribe from a channel, and you see this code. I'll just copy it and then I'll just paste it here. Now instead of my channel, what we're going to have is lessons channel. Again, the variable that we created. On mount, we do this. We subscribe to listening to, I'm going to change this to a lesson table because that's what we have in our case. Lesson, lesson table. And then if there's anything that changes, you should receive this payload. I'm going to show you now. But first of all, I like to just make sure that we have the lesson channel before we unsubscribe. If not, we can get an error. So if this has not been called, then don't continue, right? We only want to unsubscribe if this variable is not undefined. Okay, so that's this if statement. I've had an issue where it's, for some reason, it's called undestroyed before unmount. So yeah, just make sure that you add this check. Okay, good. Now the next thing we want to do, okay, so we have this payload, right? Now if I come back to the UI here and then inspect in my terminal and I do console, so when I clear this, right, now let's say I add a new, or let me add a new one. I'll just say dummy, then dummy, and then author dummy, and then dummy text, submit. Okay, now you know why that didn't work, because the first thing that we're supposed to do, that's actually good that I realized this bug, is that you need to come here and click real-time on. Yeah, enable real-time on your table. So you need to do that before you can be able to listen on the front end. So let's do that again. So let's say I create and I say just tailwind, for example, and then I do tailwind, and then I say Mr. Tailwind and just some dummy dick. Now once we submit this, now you see that change received is from this console. And it will be the same on this page, right? But I'm just showing you on this one because I made changes here. Now, in the case of, you see that we have this payload is an object, and we have the three very, very important things that we need here. The event type, new and old. So when there is an insert, you get the new, and then it returns like an object for us. And if it's delete, we get old. So let me try deleting one, for example, this. Now delete that one. I just clicked it. One sec. So you see it just removed from here, but nothing changed here. But anyways, we're seeing it in the console that delete happened, event type, and then the object here is 4. So old and then ID 4. Now we're just going to like do this. So I'm going to say now I know that payload is an object. I'll destructure from payload, and then I would say that payload, so we know that it has event type, it has new, and it has old, right? New is a keyword in JavaScript, so I'll just call this like new lesson payload. Okay, so I'm just renaming this key here. Now we're going to check for the event type. We're going to say if the event type is delete, right? If it's delete, all we just have to do is so we have an array of lessons here that holds the lessons array, and once we fetch them, now what we just have to do is to say on delete lessons equal to lessons dot filter, and then we do lesson dot id is not equal to old.id. The reason why it's old is because we know that if it's delete, it's old, that we're going to get the ID of the lesson that was just deleted in old. However, if it's insert, so if I say else if event type is equal to insert, then I would say, so in insert we have the new lesson payload. I'm just going to add to the lessons array, and I'm going to just do this. So spread the previous lessons and then spread the new lesson payload, because Supabase gives us the lesson data here, so author, created, and things like that, everything. However, the only thing that we're doing is that we're renaming this key in the lesson data. So I'm just going to do this. Created at, this is because like Supabase gives us underscore, but in our code we use camel case, created at, you see. So that's why we're sticking to that. All right, now let's look at the code. This works and then this works. Okay, cool. Now let's go back. Now look at this. If I delete on this page, it deletes here. You see that? If I add a new one here, test 4, and I do test 4 auto Mr. Test, and then blah blah blah, and then I hit on submit, there is no loader here anyways, but like you get the idea. We could add the loader if you want. Let me see. Okay, the request went. So you see it's already on this left hand side, and then when we come here, it's here as well. So you see, like, this is the real time. If I delete this, it deletes here and deletes here. If I delete number 8, deletes here and deletes here. So you get the idea, right? That's all. That's practically everything that you need. In a case where you have like you need to make queries to specific like joins to other tables. In our case, right, Supabase just gives us the content of this current table, that's lesson. But if you're doing nested queries like joins to other tables, then you would definitely make another query in here to fetch the data that you need, depending on this .id. So like you definitely have the ID, so you can make further queries. So yeah, that's it for this lesson. You don't need any assignments. Just make sure that you can practice this feature, and always don't forget to enable this right here. All right, thanks. Cheers.